Hey, Chandler. It says attendees, and I can't. Kim's like, I'm here.
What do you mean?
I can't. How do I get? Can y'all hear me?
Hello? Let me try my background.
It says that Kim is here.
But she's not showing.
Well, how do I let her? Oh, okay, hold on.
I promoted her to a panelist, so she should be able to turn on her camera now.
Okay. Hey, Cody. There's a few
I'm promoted.
attendees here.
Uh-huh.
That Kim was an attendee, and she said that she could hear me. So I'm thinking that the other attendees right now can hear, but
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
they're supposed to be in a waiting room.
I feel like I need to find some lipstick.
So I don't know what to do about that.
No, we're fine. We can just go ahead and chat if you want to throw up the presentation or some background music, and we'll just let them. We'll get started at 12:15.
Okay. Okay.
Do you want to go ahead and share the welcome screen?
Hi, Johnny. Thank you.
Hey, Kim, can you go ahead and say something? Say hello so I can hear you.
Test, test, test.
Okay, good. Okay.
There she is.
Super creative test link.
Let me put, so, there is no waiting room. So when people start signing on, which if you have, well, okay. Hi, Colleen.
Hi, Colleen.
We have a VIP. Thanks for joining us. How fun to have you here.
I just feel like we need to figure out how to do the music, the waiting room music.
Just put it on. Thank you.
Looks like we have a couple of new folks. Thank you guys so much for joining. Hi, Lisa. Hi, John. We are getting all set up and we will get started at about 12:15. So if you haven't grabbed your lunch or your snack, do that and then hop back on with us at 12:15. We'll get going. All right, everybody, we have about 5 more minutes till we get started. I just wanted to say hello to new folks that have hopped on. Thanks so much for joining us. This is the behind the scenes webinar with the North Texas Food Bank. We're so excited for y'all to join us today. We'll be hearing from Kim Morris, who is leading the charge with some really exciting new partnerships for us. And also you'll enjoy hearing from her because she has a fabulous accent that I think makes everything more fun. So if you need to refill your coffee, grab your lunch, we have a couple more minutes. And, you know, we've all done some Zooms in the last year, so I know you guys know, but please do mute your mics for us and help eliminate distractions. And we love questions. We want to hear your questions, so please feel free to pop those into the chat. We will have a Q&A at the end, but please feel free to submit those throughout Kim's presentation in the chat. We'll keep an eye on that. And we'll give folks another couple of minutes to log on. Okay, are we ready to get going here? Thank you guys for joining. Again, please submit your questions in the chat as we go. We'll keep an eye on that. And from here, I'm going to hand it over to Erica Yeager, our Chief External Affairs Officer, to kick us off.
Thank you, Catherine. Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you I haven't met yet, my name is Erica Yeager, the Chief External Affairs Officer here at the North Texas Food Bank. And today is the last day of our fiscal year. So as we wrap up fiscal year 21, I want to personally thank all of you for investing in us, our mission, and for providing food and hope for all those that we serve. With your help, we have distributed nearly 130 million meals this year. So we say in the food banking world that a vaccination will not cure hunger. So we continue to serve at really an elevated rate because the need remains great, and we are deeply appreciative for your support. So today you'll get to hear from one of my colleagues who has certainly been at the forefront of our response. Not only has Kim Morris led our community partner relations team and mobile pantry efforts this past year, but she's been working simultaneously on the strategy to develop innovative partnerships to allow us to grow capacity and address the root causes of hunger. So prior to becoming a food banker, she worked for Mothers Against Drunk Driving in the national office for 7 years and worked in a number of other nonprofit organizations. So Kim really has built a career on serving those in need with a focus, she says, on team building and process improvements. So I'm excited for you to get to hear from her today. Kim, the Zoom is all yours.
All right. Well, thank you, Miss Erica. I appreciate the opportunity today. I'm really looking forward to sharing some really cool information that the team's been working on with you all. I'm going to only have about 45 minutes with you lovely folks, so I may go a little fast, but please, 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 as Catherine said, give us your questions. Would love to answer any and all of those that I can. So without further ado, let's jump in to the next slide. Here we go. Okay, so one of the things that in the work that I've done in nonprofits, there's always your guiding star, right? So before we talk about any of this innovation or any of these partnerships or any of the things that we're doing, we have to first set that stage, right? We have to know who we are and what we're doing and why we're doing that. And so our mission statement, the closing of the hunger gap in North Texas, providing access to nutritious food, that's what we need to do, with our North Star being that hunger-free, healthy North Texas. And why is this so important? This is so important because North Texas Food Bank, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, all of the different orgs that I've worked for, you get asked to do a lot of things, right? And sometimes those things don't necessarily drive you towards that North Star, towards that vision. And so with everything we do and everything my team does, the first question we ask is, will it help us reach our vision? Will it get us to that end game? And if the answer is no, we need to redirect, right? So everything we look at and all the different initiatives that we try, this is where we vet them first. This is what grounds us. While our mission may change from time to time as we get better and as we know more, it always refers back to that North Star and that vision of a hungry-free, healthy North Texas. So keep that in mind as we kind of go through all of these different things that we're working on. And no, these are efforts and ideas. We reserve the right to change any of these approaches as we learn more and as we kind of get deeper in. So let's go on to the next slide, if you will. So what would a presentation be without first nodding to COVID? So let's go ahead and get that out of the way now. We learned a lot through COVID. As Erica mentioned, I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary with the food bank. So I don't know a lot about food banking outside of disaster and crisis, which is kind of a good thing, right? Maya Angelou says, do the best you can, but when you know better, do better. And so for me, that's what COVID is. We learned what we could do, and it would be foolish for us to step back into old ways when we know more and we know better now. So what you see here is our vision: food for today, hope for tomorrow. It's a concept, the concept of food banking has been around since I think the 1960s, something like that. Yet food pantries are still necessary. Hungry people still exist. Our do better is to leverage what we offer to take the next step, food for today, to take the next step into that hope for tomorrow, to connect these two through the availability of food. And that's where our families are, right? Our families come to us for that thing that they need. How do we use them there and use that to help them take that next step forward, give them the hope for tomorrow? In a nutshell, to do better, to leverage improvements in all of our areas is to know the need, meet the need, and then reduce the need. So what you see in front of you on this slide is an encapsulation of all of the different things that we do as a food bank. One of the things that was fascinating to me is, as I've mentioned, I've been around nonprofits for a while and been through several. I've always really admired the food bank, which is why I wanted to apply for the position. But in my head, I was like, a nonprofit's a nonprofit's a nonprofit, which is completely wrong when you talk about food banking. I was blown away at the number of moves and the mechanisms that matter to make this machine run. And I was also blown away at the dedication of the folks that are here. So all of these things are important for us to be able to offer food today and hope tomorrow. And we are right now and have evaluated every single one of these through these learnings to know better and to be better that we've gained from COVID. So as you think about and as we look at what does that future look like for us, it's looking at offering these services that we've always offered, plus more and plus better. So let's go on to the next slide, please. And this is my team. These are the awesome people that I get to work with every single day. I am the Director of Community Partner Relations, which under that hat sits basically 3 buckets. So we have our mobile pantry team. That's probably our most visible crew. These are the ones that you see at the Fair Park distributions and some of those big mega distributions. We have our community partner team. And these are the folks that you may not necessarily see very often, but they're the ones that are supporting our partner network, which is over 200 strong and ranges everything from your traditional food pantry. People come in, shop their little shop, get food, go home, to things like residential facilities where we provide the food that they actually serve to the patients, or not patients, but to the clients that are there, things like that. After school programs, daycares, there's a myriad of partners that we have. And then I have a strategy team, which they are just outstandingly amazing. And I am so blessed to get to work with so many incredibly intelligent people on a daily basis. And so I kind of have those 3 groups, and kind of buried in there into that strategy team, you see Taz Rajan. What she manages and monitors, we'll talk a little bit about in a little bit, is our grants program, which is really kind of a cornerstone for growth throughout our network. So let's go on to the next slide, please. So know the need, right? So I kind of foreshadowed this a little bit earlier. Know the need, meet the need, reduce the need. Food for today, hope for tomorrow. All of those things, all those little tag phrases, right? But it makes sense, right? How do we do anything productively if we don't first know what it is we want to do? We don't want to go blindly into that night, right? We want to go into that night with some level of direction. So let's go to the next slide. So we start with just knowing our territory, right? We got to know our boundaries. This is our home. This is our community. It's 13 counties strong. We have a big community, 10,000 square miles. What we also know about our community is that it takes roughly 130 million meals to meet the meal gap. What is a meal gap? A meal gap is that balance to fill hungry bellies, right? For us to be successful, and it's almost crazy to think that, we live in America, we live in the greatest state in America, yet still in our amazing community, there are folks who, there are bellies that grumble at night. There are moms who don't know what's next for their kids. These people are here and they exist, and it's our responsibility and our mission to serve them and to help them. And so we have to know who we are and what we are. And we know that our community is 13 counties strong, and we know that that community needs at least 130 million meals. We know also that we did it through COVID, which means we know we can do it, but we know that we are not in a normal environment. So the next step forward is a little different, and that's okay. Let's go on to the next slide. The other thing we know, and the other way we know the need, is that 130 million meals, it's a lot of pounds of food, right? We can't just go into Dallas County and drop 130 million meals, because whereas that meets a metric, it doesn't actually fill bellies, right? So we have to not only know that there's 130 million meals that are necessary out there, we have to know exactly where those folks are and make sure that we're serving them appropriately. I won't read all the text to you. You guys are competent to do that. What I will say is that the image that you're looking at, it's set on a gradient of about 50% of need fulfilled. That means where you see green, we're doing great, right? That's all the good. And then where you see red, that's all the bad, just to kind of give you a contrasting word. That means that we're not necessarily in those zones and distributing food the way we need to distribute. So we know the need, right? We've taken the tools that we have available to us and we've layered it out. And this is something that we look at on a daily basis. So as we think about where are we going to target, helping pantries to grow or sending mobile distributions, we're not just doing it willy-nilly, and we're not being just, you called and you want to do it, great, we'll come do it. No, we're looking at what resources we have and where's the red. And that's where we're trying to spend our time and develop those innovative partnerships and look for new ways to move forward. Let's go to the next slide, please. Meet the need. This is the hard part, right? This is the really, really hard part, because there is so much need. And I don't know about you, but the first time we got that visual, that board, that tool together, our hunger index laid out, knowing how many meals we were putting out there was like, well, we're doing a great job. This is going to be really good to look at. And seeing all that red, it was like, oh my gosh, we know we have more work to do. There's a lot more work to do. Let's go to the next slide, please. So to meet the need, we have to do a lot of different things. And so this is just really to kind of give you an idea of how we work and what we think. All of our partners are out there, and we've segmented or we've categorized our partnerships. We have a very specific amount of staff, right? And what we know from the last year is that when we spend the time to work with an agency, that agency grows. And what I mean by grow is it feeds more people, right? There's lots of folks in areas that need food that don't understand that food pantries are there. They don't understand how they work. They're scared to go. There's a lot of different things that prevent folks from going to food pantries. So when we talk about meeting that need, we have to grow together. And to grow together, we have to identify which partners are in which areas that we need to focus our time. And so we've leveled all of them based on the need in their area. And then we've chunked them based on what they can do and our staff that we have available to serve those guys. Let's go to the next slide, please. And then we have our mobile progressive growth. So in the last slide, we were really focusing on what our CPR team does and how they support and grow those agencies. And then on the other side of the house, we have a really cool and innovative approach to the way our mobile team is used. Now, I'll tell you, there's not a lot of food banks that do things this way. This is pretty new. This is a little bold, and we're okay with that. And if it doesn't work, we'll change gears and we'll try something different. But we already have a couple of success stories, which is really exciting. So the idea about our mobile team is, as we swing out of COVID, as we know better, we must be better. We know that our team is really good at getting food out there, right? We understand how it works. We know the logistics. We understand nutritional value and making sure that when we serve a large amount of people, that we're doing it in a way that it's a nutritional thing that they're taking home. They're not just taking empty calories home just to fill their bellies. They're taking home a nutritious plate of food, something that they're going to enjoy serving their family and be healthy to serve their family. That's not something that you just know, right? It takes time. Our team has worked to learn these things. And so we're really restructuring that team to go away from the stop and drop model, where they go into a community, drop food, and they go away, to they look at the red, they work with our CPR team, and they say, we're going to find a partner in this area. What you see in front of you is kind of a success story. This is the Barnabas Center, and it's up in Fannin County. They came to us as a partner through disaster, right? They said, we don't have a food pantry, people in our community need food. Please come do mobile distributions with us. So we came out, mobile distribution, and they called us back. That was great. Can you come back? Yeah, we can come back. Well, we got to know, like, man, these folks are invested. This is a high need community. What more can we do? So we stopped just stopping and dropping. We pulled them in. We talked to them. We walked them through the process. We basically taught them how to distribute food. And you can see here some of the data. I don't mean to point at the camera there. You can see some of the data that we pull from the hunger index. What we know is where they're at. I'm sorry, they're Grayson County, not Fannin, is that the food insecurity rate's 25%. Our average is 17% through our 13 county community. And there's 409,045 unfulfilled pounds that need to go into this county and into this, particularly the zip code. So they said, hey, we can do this. They finished out a whole area of an adjacent building at their church. They got these amazing fridges and freezers that, like, you can look at the temp on your phone. We're like, these are great. The shelving and everything. And now they are a fully functioning partner. We don't have to use our mobile resources to go into that community anymore because they are serving that community. That's the goal of our progressive community growth model, is for us not to stop and drop food, but us to go in and coach, teach, and train for a long-term sustainable solutions in these high need areas. We'll go to the next one, please. Another thing that we're working on, and we're really excited about, actually, the lead, our mobile manager, is going to San Antonio tomorrow to look at our container pantry. And so this will actually be more support for our brick and mortar pantries that want to expand. And so the use of this is it's like a mobile pantry, if you will. It gets set up in one location, and it's got all the things. It's got refrigeration, it's got shelving. The clients can come in, walk through. And the goal of this is kind of twofold. It's to expand the capacity of a small pantry while they look to raise dollars for capital campaigns, while they look to renovate certain things, or just say, yeah, there's enough of a need in this community. So we're looking at 2 sites right now. We'll go down in Ellis County, which is one of our high need counties, and we'll go up in Denton County. So we have 2 coming to us really soon. In Denton County, they have 3 locations, and they're like, we don't know where we should expand and create a new pantry. They're going to use this as kind of a test to test the market in those different locations. And wherever they see the most folks, they'll do brick and mortar there. Down in Ellis County, we have a place that we think is going to be great, or the partner thinks it would be great, but they need to develop the kind of the reason to spend the money to finish out the place. And so we get to put this pantry down there. They can show all the numbers for their clients they're serving, and then they can build out that pantry and it'll be long-term sustainable. Then we can take those 2 pantries and move them to other locations to hopefully do the same thing. Really excited about this. Like I said, we have 2 rolling off the assembly line in the next probably 2 weeks, which is crazy. So hopefully we'll be able to come back in a year and just show you all kinds of amazing data about how successful this initiative has been. So let's go to the next one, please. And then our grants program, I kind of talked about TAS in the very entry. This is really exciting, and it's really the cornerstone for our ability to grow. There's so many pantries out there that they just need a little financial support to be able to grow. And we were really blessed when we did our last capital campaign to have a nice set of dollars that were reserved just for capital campaigns or capital projects. And so in the past year, we were able to award $1.2 million to our partners for them to do innovative approaches and for them to do different things to be able to grow their distribution services in the area that they're in. We're a food bank. We don't directly serve clients except through our mobile. It's through our pantry programs or our partner network, where 80% of the people who receive our food really do the hard work. And so our job essentially is to do what we can to help them serve more folks. And our grant program is an opportunity for us to be able to do that. So you can kind of see a few things that we've been able to provide grant dollars for some of our partners throughout our network. You can go to the next one. Reduce the need. That's the really, really challenging one that we're just starting to put our toes in, but we're so excited. This is the hope for tomorrow, right? Is to reduce the need. Let's go to the next slide. And that really comes with looking at root causes of poverty, right? Hunger does not make poverty. Poverty is a symptom of hunger. And where we may not recognize that we're not able to sustain our home because we can make more money if we have a certification, or we're just thinking about the next day and taking those classes. I can put that off because I just got to get through today. This is where when you come to us for food and we had that conversation with you, we can refer you, say, hey, did you know X? Did you know Y? Let me help you find a way to get there. And so these are basically the root causes of food insecurity that we're looking to address and to partner to address. Again, our North Star is a hunger-free North Texas, right? We're not going to start opening clinics. We're not going to start opening job trainings. There's so many people out there and so many amazing orgs that do this work. What we want to do is create those connections, those viable connections, and grow those connections within our partner community. Let's go to the next slide, please. And so we're looking at workforce development partnerships, medical community partnerships, and financial education partnerships. We're already taking several steps forward with one actual hospital in downtown Dallas, where we're super excited. We're on the cusp of opening a pantry in the actual hospital, which is really, really cool. So the way that will work is that patients who come through their clinic that test high for food insecurity will be enrolled in a food program. So they can get food right there with people that they trust. They trust these doctors, they trust this environment, they will go there, right? And then we'll be able to track how that steady source of healthy food helps those folks. It's really exciting. Workforce development, we really are looking to how do we target and find different programs that provide workforce development and link those to our pantry and to our partner network throughout our 13 county community. Same with financial education. We know that that's not necessarily something people think to reach out for themselves, but it could easily be something that we provide as a referral to help folks kind of address some of those root causes. Agency University, that's our internal education platform. Part of what we also know we need to do to reduce the need is we have to equip our partner network to be able to understand a lot of this, to be able to move forward with this, to have trainings to grow. And so in the next year, we'll be spending a lot of time developing new trainings and offering new tools and tips for our agency partners to be able to put all this stuff into action. Our faith-based community is an amazing, amazing resource that we have lots of opportunities with. And so in the next year, we'll be looking to maximize those partnerships and to really be able to work in that space to grow. I mean, it's a natural thing to support faith, for communities of faith to support their attendees or their own population. So how do we work with them to grow that in all faith-based communities? Healthy pantries, which ties to these other three things that you see here. When we talk about for tomorrow, it's the conversation that matters. And what I say by that is, I've nodded to this a couple of times, like you may not know you need it, right? And so pre-COVID, we had many pantries and we worked very hard to get to what we call client choice pantries. And so a client choice pantry is much like a grocery store. You think about, I'm a mom, I have several children. I don't want my children to see me going into a pantry to ask for food, but I feel much more dignified if I go into a pantry that looks like a grocery store. My kids don't know the difference. And I get to walk through and there's this nice person that's walking with me and I'm putting things into a basket. That's our vision for our network, right? And while I'm putting these things into my basket, the nice volunteer that's with me says, hey, I've seen you here before. Like, tell me a little bit about your story. Oh, well, I lost my job. I'm struggling to find a new job. Well, that's great. That's interesting. Did you know we have job training down the road and they have childcare and da, 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 da. So it really starts with that conversation. If that's where the connection begins, and that's where the hope for tomorrow really kicks off, right? So we want to encourage and work with our pantry partners to go to revert back to that, those that are in the drive-through. And we have quite a few that are working on it. When we talk about that progressive community model growth, we want to teach them that's the best way to go at it, right? To start with the end in mind as we begin that process. And when we go into these communities where there's nothing, there's no grocery stores, there's no food pantries, all of those sorts of things where folks are really depending on some source of food. That's where we want to be able to create the right source of food for them that provides them the best experience. And we talk about nudge pantries. That's all about health and nutrition and helping folks understand what things they should be picking from. CSFP is our senior program. We know that some of our seniors are in situations where, job training is not really going to help, financial education is not going to help, but CSFP is a continued, reliable program that's always there for them, and we want to expand that program into as many partnerships as we possibly can. We'll go on to the next slide. And so that kind of wraps it up for us, right? Like, or for me, it's just a toe in the water of some of the things that we're working on and that we're doing. But really the kind of final thought or final word for me is that what our team is working on is constantly that North Star, that vision of a hunger-free North Texas, right? And just like with anything that you do to get started, to move forward, to be successful, we have to have that 3-step approach, right? Know the need, meet the need, and reduce the need. We have some solid plans on all of those things, but we know we're going to have to, word of the year again, it's pivot, make changes where we need to and improve. And really, we're not even able to start doing that work without folks like you guys supporting us, being a part of this process with us, because we're really just the tools. Yeah. And these tools don't work if we don't have the support from the community who wants the tools to work. So thank you all so much for your support, how it affects me, how it affects my team, and allows us to do the really awesome, cool things that we get to do. So thank you for your time. I'll take questions. I'll throw it back to you, Erica, to kind of wrap us up and move on to questions.
Yes, thank you, Kim, for sharing some wisdom and some insight on what your day-to-day looks like here at the North Texas Food Bank. I really like that. Know the need, meet the need, reduce the need. And I hope that those of you on the Zoom recognize that this is the work that you are making possible with your involvement and your engagement and your investment. I also think it's worth pointing out, as Kim shared, that not only are you investing in the North Texas Food Bank, but your support is helping the 250 plus partner agencies in our network. You're helping them to grow capacity, as Kim evidenced today. So a reminder on the screen of additional ways you can continue to get involved. If any of this work in particular excites you, let us know. But I would love to open it up for questions. I know we had a couple of pre-submitted questions, Kim. The first being, can you explain the ways we are actively engaging with food deserts with consistent access to more nutritional foods like produce, proteins, and dairy?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that all reaches back to our what we're doing with our progressive growth model, right? We're looking for those. Now, we're not going to get into the business of recruiting grocery stores and those sorts of things to come into areas. That's a little outside of the work that we do. But what we can do is we can locate those partners in those areas. That's specifically the areas that we're looking for as we're recruiting partners. And we're always looking for referrals for partners in areas like that want to do food distribution. Maybe they've never done it before. Maybe they're a church that has a spare room. I mean, it doesn't take much space to host a pantry that can serve the folks of that area. It really, really does not. And so when we talk about what are we doing, we're working through finding them, like finding those areas, and then targeting them for recruitment and going out and rustling the bushes and knocking on doors and looking for folks that are interested in joining us in this fight.
Lots of good questions coming in. Kim, can you quickly answer the question we frequently receive? Do partner agencies pay for food?
It's really interesting. So we've never paid for food. We've always had a service fee attached just for the work that we do. And we have done something most recently, and we just rolled it out to our partner network. And so no food bank has ever done this before. But thanks to your support, we have a little bit of leeway and a little opportunity to remove handling fees completely from our agencies. So most food banks, in the way we used to be, it was dramatic. It was super, super cheap. So it was like, a couple of cents per pound. And really that was just to try to help us balance some of the operational and logistical costs of just doing business, because there's a lot of moving parts here. We saw what happened when we removed handling fees. Beginning of COVID, we heard that was a barrier to pantries, that those fees were a barrier to pantries. And so we ripped the Band-Aid off, and we saw the food fly out the door where it needed to go. And so, like I said, You know better, you do better. This is a big piece of our knowing better and doing better, is that we're doing something that no food bank has done, and we've committed to remove handling fees permanently. And all we really offer, the only fees we charge now are what we call convenience fees. So if you need us to do something specific that changes our level of productivity internally, we'll do that for you, but we're going to charge you a fee for that. But if you operate in a way that creates us the greatest and the smoothest and the cleanest gears out the door, you can get that for free. You just have to be a partner. You have to be audited. We have to make sure everything's safe. But it's a really, again, bold move forward for the North Texas Food Bank.
Kim, are you at a place where you can share the name of the hospital and the timing for our food pharmacy pilot?
I don't think I am quite yet. They're still reviewing the contract. We are super far along. We've seen the space, we've toured it. I don't know that I can share the name just yet until we got all of our contracts and our legal ducks in a row, but it's really exciting. Their goal is to be up and live by mid-September, which is super exciting, and we're loving their initiative and kind of their quickness to move forward.
It is a name that you guys will recognize. And then we did have a question around clarification on how we got from distributing our goal of 92 million meals to 130 million meals, which I will share is largely due to an influx of COVID resources, inclusive of very generous federal support. So do you want to comment?
Yeah, I mean, and that's it, right? I mean, it's through the grace and love of our community is how we did it, to be 100% honest. It took a lot more manpower. We had the National Guard support, which was fantastic. We had a lot of government dollars that helped us purchase food like we've never purchased before. It's not a habit we want to maintain, but the need was there. And you think about early COVID, whenever you all weren't able to go to the grocery store and buy certain things, we couldn't get it either. It was really a challenge. And so we had a lot of community support. We had a lot of government support. When we peeled off those handling fees, we removed the barrier, any and every barrier we could potentially and possibly remove from our partner agencies. We methodically and thoughtfully did that. And our executive team was very supportive and very thoughtful. And the mentality was feed the people. Feed the people, feed the people. We'll worry about kind of getting things together and what that looks like later. And we were able to, and it's been wonderful. And we've really, again, had some major learnings. We're building on those learnings and filling those holes left and right.
Thank you. That's one thing to note as we move forward. We have received such generous support. A lot of food was made available by federal government relief programs, and that's not sustainable. That's not continued support that we can count on moving forward, which is why your support is so critical for us as we sustain to meet this elevated need. So there was a question about pantries and if they conduct their own fundraising, and yes, they do. And frequently, we are submitting joint grant applications and looking for ways that we can partner when we approach donors to fund both the food that we're providing to the agencies and help fund all those wraparound services that they provide. And then there's another question about corporate restaurant partners that we may have connected directly with pantries. Do you want to talk about our retail direct program, Kim?
Yeah, we actually, we have about 350, I think is the number, retail partners. And retail can be all the things that you think of with retail. If you go into a store and put money on the counter, that's retail, right? And so our best practice is not to bring that product in here, but to send it directly to partner agencies. And so we have a whole team that deals specifically with that. And they set up relationships with the donor and with the pantry, and they connect. And then our team is constantly evaluating and constantly checking in with the retailer as well as with the pantry to make sure the product that they're getting is quality product, it's nutritious product, it's on time product, those sorts of things. It's actually a huge part of the food that our pantries get is through retail. We also, another half of that food that they get is through the food that they get from us. And not every partner can be a retail partner. They just don't necessarily have the capability to do that, because there's a lot of little things that go into that. You have to have a truck, you have to have scales, you have to do all these things. And so while it's great for our partners that can access our retail program, we still have a lot of partners that cannot. Now, our retail team is actively looking to grow that program. And with our grants program, we want to try to enable as many partners as possible to participate in that program. So we are kind of coming at it from several different angles. And I know that retail team is always looking for referrals to new partners in the corporate space that can help us grow the pounds that we get through those types of partnerships.
So that kind of leads into this next question, Kim, how we are sourcing culturally appropriate food for the various communities that we serve. And I know some of that is through the direct pairing, but also we're giving our agencies the opportunity to select what they need that is most desirable by their neighbors that they're serving on the front line. So do you want to comment any more about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. You think about the way they shop for the food that we give them is similar. It's like an Amazon type thing, right? They log in, all the products are available, and they pick and choose what they want from us. Again, no handling fees, so there's no barrier from a cost perspective. Now, what we want to do is we want to know more about our 13 county community to understand and to make sure we are bringing in the right foods. So that's work we're actually jumping into in the next fiscal year. As Erica said, right now they can self-regulate and pull whatever they'd like. We want to make sure in the next year that we're thinking about all of those different folks that are out there and that we're making that sort of food and the right food available to satisfy our entire community. So there is an opportunity for pantries to self-do that, but we know we can do better. Again, know better, do better. And that's our plan next year, is to dive more deeply into that so we can be better there.
Okay, and Kim, we're going to, here's a good question. And then we'll do two more. Are we still using the hub and spoke method of distribution to utilize a larger agency to reach smaller pantries in their area? So you want to provide an update on our strategy?
Sure. So we don't necessarily internally talk about hub and spoke as thoroughly as that. We have what we call RDOs, redistribution organizations. We currently have two, Sharing Life and Crossroads. Crossroads is in our old location in Cockrell Hill, and we still very much support and work with those guys. It's amazing how much further we can distribute food when we leverage those entities. Just like everything, we learned a whole lot through COVID. And so we're actually actively working with those two to prop them up to be greater and stronger and to be doing the right things to satisfy that partnership. And then we are talking about whether we should look in different areas to consider moving on and creating other RDOs in different locations. For now, though, the main conversation is to maximize those two RDOs the best we can before we consider whether we go to another place. We're not against the idea of expanding. We just know that we've got some work to maximize and do a better job. We do a great job, not to say that we do a bad job, but we just want to maximize and be even better there.
Okay, and we're going to end with the opportunity for you to tell a little success story, I hope. But if whoever is operating the slides, if you can back up to the slide where we indicate the met and the unmet need. For reference, keep going. There is a small area of green in the southernmost part of our service area, which you'll see in the middle of a bunch of bright red. So what are we doing differently there? What is that? What's the story about that green spot?
You're putting me on the spot here. Let me see if I can remember. No. So we did with our agency team what I kind of alluded to, growth strategy planning early on, right? And all of our team took their territory and selected a few agencies that they wanted to grow, right? They wanted to take the opportunity to grow. I believe, if I'm correct, this is in the area surrounding Compassion Corsicana. Compassion Corsicana was one of the areas that we targeted, and we really wanted to grow that agency. And with that targeted growth and that targeted support, we were able to help them expand. They took on part of our Food for Kids program, a CSFP caseload. And then our rep, Dakota, was actually able to work with them to get more volunteers in, to be open more frequently. And so in some areas, you see some folks in Kaufman County, which is another great success story and is over in the green. They grew exponentially as well through COVID, specifically because our teammate sat down at a table and said, what do you want to do? How do you want to grow? What's your vision? And then she took her knowledge of our resources here and said, how about this? How about that? We've seen success here. What do you think about this? And through that was able to grow those different agencies. So there's a ton of success stories that we've seen over the last year. And the plan is to take all of those, figure out why it worked, and grow that in different locations.
Thank you. I know that Kim nor any of my fellow food bankers are going to rest until that entire map is green. And again, just to reiterate, that is made possible by you. So thank you so much for joining us today. If you think of additional questions, please follow up with us. I know this recording will be made available to you. Catherine, I will let you make any closing remarks.
I don't have any. Thank you so much, Kim. Your energy is contagious. We appreciated learning from you. I learned a few things myself, so thank you.
Good.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Happy summer.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.